I work 3 jobs and donate plasma to pay the bills. This is what it's like to be a teacher in America. Hope Brown can make $60 donating plasma from her blood cells twice in 1 week, and a little more if she sells some of her clothes at the consignment store. Brown often works from 5 a.m. to 4 p.m. at her school in Versailles, Kentucky, then goes to a second job manning the metal detectors and wrangling rowdy guests at Lexington's Rupp Arena to supplement her $55,000 annual salary with her husband. She also runs a historical tour company for extra money. I truly love teaching, but we are not paid for the work that we do. This has become a rallying cry of many of America's public school teachers. The pay gap between teachers and other comparably educated professionals is now the largest on record. In 1994, public school teachers in the U.S. earned 1.8% less per week than comparable workers. By last year, they made 18.7% less. The situation is particularly grim in states such as Oklahoma, where teachers' inflation-adjusted salaries actually decreased by about $8,000 in the last decade, to an average of about $245 in 2016. The decline in education funding is not limited to salaries. 29 states were still spending less per student in 2015. Yeah, you hear about schools in Oklahoma, and that's why when the Oklahoma teacher strike happened, they weren't just fighting for living wages for themselves. They were also fighting for living wages for everybody else. First of all, the custodians and everybody else involved that also were getting grossly underpaid. And they were fighting for better resources in the classroom. Heat in the wintertime. They had to go without heat in the wintertime in some cases. And textbooks that were not falling apart. Textbooks that did not include the words, hey, we don't know what's going to happen when Y2K hits. That's what they were fighting for. And you hear stories like this. I mean, this Times article, there's been a lot of articles similar to this. Some of them have also been in Time magazine. There was another, for instance, where a student saw his teacher at a restaurant. A student was out to eat with their parents, an elementary school student, and their server happened to be his teacher. So he saw his teacher, and his teacher served their family. And he said, man, Miss So-and-so, you must be rich. And she was like, yeah, I sure am. She had to work 2 jobs to survive. She had to be a server in addition to being a teacher. It's, and I can speak from my own personal experience. You know, I used to be an adjunct on the side. I taught some college. I know that over on the Jimmy Dore show, they jokingly call me the professor sometimes. I'm not an actual professor. I don't have a PhD. But I do have a master's, and I did teach some college. I did some adjuncting there. And it was a lot of fun. But for me, it was just kind of a side thing that I did. Because I was on the road doing comedy, and I was doing about 45 weeks a year as a comedian. But, most of my gigs were on the weekends. So during the week, I would teach on a Tuesday night here and there every now and again on a semester to just make some extra money. And I've said this before, so if this is your second or third time hearing it, I apologize. But since we're on the topic, I got paid more money to perform at one college than I did to teach at one for an entire semester. And college performers are not overpaid. College performers, we get paid fair for what we do and the service we bring. Adjuncts are grossly underpaid. Grossly underpaid. It is insane. And, for me, it was just a side income. At one point, they offered me a full-time job. I turned it down because it was a pay cut. I made more money driving around as a no-name comedian. And at the time, I wasn't headlining, which means I was an opening act. So I made more money as an opening act doing comedy, just driving from club to club, even factoring in gas and all my expenses, which, believe me, they were hearty. I was not making a ton of money. I was living gig to gig. But I was making more than if I would have taken a full-time teaching job. Keep in mind, stand-up comedy, one of the few industries where the rates for a comedian, the same amount of money, if not more, in the 80s when gas was nothing. So that gives you an idea. It's not a glamorous way to make a living. It's a lot of fun. Don't get me wrong. I'm not complaining. I'm just saying a full-time teaching job was a pay cut for me. Plus, doing comedy is way more fun. But, so, yeah, I know how grossly underpaid teachers are. And it is disturbing. And for my friends, I'm at the age where a lot of my friends are starting to have kids. And I don't know how they do it. I don't know how they do it. Just everything that's going on in the world. I don't know how. I don't know how they sleep. I think if I had a child in this world looking at where education is, just the fact that every day, I would be worried, is there going to be a shooting at their school today? Every day I would worry about that. Yeah, I don't know how. I mean, I just, and I know I'm kind of getting off topic a little bit here, but yeah, you hear about teachers that they have to drive for Lyft all the time. And, it's one thing if you're an educator and you have like a large chunk of downtime in the summertime and you pick up a temporary gig to, supplement your income, maybe fund a nice vacation that you take before school starts again. That's different. That's fairly common. That's one thing. But you see a lot of educators, they have to work 2 and 3 jobs to survive. And it's not like you show up in the classroom and teach the class and that's all you do. You prep, you grade, you meet with parents. And in the age of helicopter parenting, that's probably a lot more involved than it was prior. I taught at the college level, so I didn't have to deal with any of that stuff. I think I got one email from one parent and I pretty much ignored it. I just contacted the student directly and I was like, yeah, if you want to talk about your class, please come see me. If you want to talk about your grade in here, how you're doing, please come see me. I don't need to talk to your parent. You know what I think at the college level, especially if a parent inquires about something, I think that all the educator should do, if they respond at all, is they should just email back with their child's attendance record. That's what I think they should do. Because, unless there's a circumstance. I mean, if there's like a medical thing involved and they hey, my kid's in the hospital, I need to email on their behalf something. I mean, obviously there's exceptions. I'm not heartless. I'm just, you guys know what I mean. And education. We're in a hell of a lot of trouble.
Get your news on with Ron. Don't you wanna know what's going on? We're getting our news on today. Get your news on with Ron. Don't you wanna know what's going on? We're getting our news on today. You can tweet me an article at Ron Placone. We'll go through it together and make